And welcome to episode 33 of the Hub World Podcast. Today I am your host, Gino, and I am joined by...
Matteo.
Sarah.
And Adriano.
Yeah, Adriano's here too. We're gonna have a good time today. We hinted this one at the end of last episode. But yeah, today we are going to be talking about our general thoughts of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Korra, and the entire Avatar series, where we see things going, and just some fun theory crafting and general news and love of the series and stuff. A bit of an icebreaker for this one here. We haven't done one in a little while, but I had an idea for this one here where I ask you guys the question, what bender are you and why? So, who wants to start?
I'll start. Just for context, I started watching Avatar, I want to say a month ago. And I'm completely done everything now. I binged the you-know-what out of that show. And I never, as a child, I thought it was dumb, but I was definitely wrong. I could admit that now. But after watching the show, I was thinking of, for sure, I'm an airbender. But according to some random test online, and then the opinions of others, I'm an earthbender. So I'm going to go with that. And obviously, I feel like earthbenders have the coolest, there's the subcategories, like metal bending and lava bending. I think those are really cool, really practical. So I'm going to go with earthbender.
Matteo, I definitely got airbender vibes off of you, but an airbender who got airbending during harmonic conversion. Yeah, no.
One of the pity airbenders.
No.
Yep.
Honestly. But yeah, on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, I watched the pilot episode of Avatar when I lost my first tooth. I was sitting watching it and my first tooth fell out. So I've been watching Avatar my whole entire life, basically. I am in love with this show. I would definitely be a waterbender. More specifically, the waterbenders that live in the swamp and eat everything in sight. I'm from Florida. And I totally get Louisiana Bayou and Everglades vibes off of those guys. I know those guys. I grew up next to those guys. Those are my guys. That's my tribe. Those are my people. Waterbender.
Yo.
So I think I would be firebending because my OC is a firebender basically. He's a fire and light bender, but not a combustion type anything.
Okay. Yeah, I can see Adriano being a firebender. He's usually very passionate about things. And but not Zuko angry angst kind of firebender. You'd be like Iroh jolly, let's have tea.
Oh my god, thank you.
That is a high compliment.
That is a compliment in the highest regards. Iroh's the best character. Or one of the best characters in that show.
Yes, sir. I will take that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Iroh's so good. Anyway, I think for me is I was the exact opposite of Matteo because I thought I would definitely be an earthbender because I'm usually very calm and collected, and I usually stand my ground and don't let people talk at me. I'm the person that's hey, what the hell in the group, and usually stirring shit up. But I took that exact same test thing that Matteo did, and apparently I'm an airbender because I'm very hey, let's give people the benefit of the doubt here. Innocent until proven guilty. Let's not rush to conclusions. I'm very trying to make peace, and I'm very generally empathetic and understanding of things. But if something I know is wrong, I'm gonna go out and try to remedy it, and I'd be that's no bueno, and try to help someone see something, right? If there's a teachable moment, and I can kind of see that in myself, kind of how airbenders generally are okay, more peace oriented, and yeah, they don't have lava or metal bending like the earthbenders, or they don't have swamp bending and electric bending and all that stuff. They have air is generally, it's pretty much available everywhere. You just use the world around you, and you just be yo man, peace, love.
That's beautiful, Gino.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
I don't know. I was a little disappointed at first, but I'm you know what? Airbending is actually pretty sweet because you can fly.
There you go. You can fly.
Yeah, you can get yourself a staff and fly around. So yeah.
Still see you as an earthbender. You were singing Diggy Hole yesterday.
Gino, or you get a flying squirrel suit like the latter seasons of Korra.
I see. I don't like the squirrel suits.
I don't either. I think they're awful.
Yeah,
They're awful.
stylish,
Anyway,
y'all.
opinions and stuff aside, yeah, well, like we can get to that later on. If you couldn't tell already, spoilers for the show and the series in general, with like the state of the universe and stuff. We're just going to be talking about like our love of Airbender and Korra and things like that. So yeah, I got. I'm taking the helm of this one here just a little bit differently than our past shows. I actually wrote like a list of like things that I think we should talk about, like a guided kind of, almost like a study, not so much. Just I got like my bullet points, like PowerPoint on the screen. Shout out to Joe if you were around for our Pokemon episode where he made a PowerPoint of why Gen 5 is bad. But I don't have an actual PowerPoint. It's just like basic talking points and stuff. I'm having a little bit of fun with this one. So, spoiler warning aside, just I want to throw that out there just because we will be talking spoilers about the series and where things go. So if you haven't finished watching Airbender or Korra yet, please do, because it's a hell of a show. And the world is just so wonderful and lovable. But yeah, first up, what are your general thoughts on the series itself and like the IP in general? Like, what are some strengths? What works and doesn't work? And what do you think what would you personally like to see more? Like, I'm just asking this general question. I guess we can talk about like what we all love about the IP, like what works for us.
I think you said it already, Gino. Like for me at least, like as like watching these shows as an adult for the first time ever, like I honestly wish I would have watched them as a kid, because then I would have grown up with the characters and the world. It is a Game of Thrones level like world, or a Lord of the Rings like Middle Earth level world in terms of world building. I think the richness of the characters, the environments, the lore, the mythology of the universe, it's so special, and that is inherently the greatest strength of these shows. The world itself is like I just love, and I love the fact that there's benders and non-benders, and like the whole thing where like there's variations within each type of bending that you could be. Like it's really cool. I love it. I honestly want to, like, and I'm in the middle of reading the comics now, and there's even more like added material there that's just, it links things up really nicely. It's so well written. It's fantastic. It's like, honestly, it's a masterclass in universe building.
Absolutely. Avatar is a masterpiece. It touches on so many real world subjects in a way that a lot of kids' media just cannot. The characters, the character development, the story arcs, just flawlessly written. It's got great female representation for disabled people. It's just all around so good. Touches on, fascism, genocide, colonialism in such a unique way, I think, especially being a children's show. And it's enjoyable for kids and adults because it's just such a mature and wonderful story. And I love it. It's my favorite thing in the entire world. What else can I say? I'm a little biased.
just a tad biased.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just want to ask, does this also include Korra, or is it just Avatar?
Everything.
Well, okay. Well, one thing I really like about Korra is that the villains, they aren't exactly black and white. Like their viewpoints are very gray area. Like some of them, they make really, really valid reasons for why they do things, but how they deal with it definitely, of course, is like, controversial. But the one thing I don't like about Korra, I'm not trying to make this, one versus the other, but one thing I don't like about Korra is it totally loses the exploration element that was in Avatar, the first one. Like in Avatar, I totally felt like flying to like area to area. There's a lot of exploration. It's very open world. It introduced you to the entire world, and I just felt like in Korra, it mostly felt like I was just in the city the entire time. It didn't really feel like such a huge world, even though it literally is the same world.
The thing is, though, like they both explored this world in such a like a different way. And what really worked for me, like for Airbender, is okay, it's introducing us to this world for the first time, the rules of this world, how it works, and Korra goes into like the finer details and like kind of brings a magnifying glass to everything, where we got to see more of the spirit world and the rich backstory of the Avatar, and like how their world kind of connects between mythology and like what they experience on the day-to-day basis, while Aang was on his bison having fun with the weird hybrid animals and like the platypus bear and the
bear.
there was a third one. There was a third one and I forgot what it was.
The sky bisons, they're basically manatee bisons, right? So
Or I thought they were like a platypus bison because they have like a tail, but they don't have a beak.
Well, manatees are shaped like that. They have that big tail.
Yeah.
But what has 6 limbs? I don't know. Like even like the animals and stuff were like really whimsical and fun. And like what really works is just that everything makes sense in this world and it doesn't really like fall out of place too much. I like, and I guess like you guys have already kind of like explained like what works for me, and like I guess like I can transition to like the what doesn't work is like I feel like technology in this world doesn't really have a place because we have like, well, technology in like the sense of like cars and stuff, because if you have earthbenders, like look what they had in Omashu back in the last Airbender. They already had the trains.
Right.
And they had like the mail system, and it's all using like sloped rocks and things, and they're using earthbending to do lots of these things where you would like require a modern day to have like automation and things, right? But it's also really cool to see how everything has evolved, where like, okay, we now have firebenders using their lightning bending to generate electricity to power everything and to like help the non-benders build their cities and things. So it's like it works and it doesn't work. I like that more kind of like classic style where like everything really isn't developed too much, because it adds to the fantasy environment. I'm not a big fan of like steampunk fantasy also, so that's probably just my bias showing a little bit.
Right. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, I hope that the future of Avatar isn't further into the actual world future, because the Avatar world's kind of built in the same sort of progression as our world has been. If you consider that, the Industrial Revolution was happening around the time that the first Avatar series was happening, and then the Korra series takes place in kind of like our equivalent of like the 1920s, right? So, and I agree. I think there's a lot of steampunk elements in Avatar: The Last Airbender. But I also, I don't care for it too much.
Seeing the tanks and everything, even during Airbender, was really off-putting to me, because I'm just like, why did like I understand the Fire Nation has like a distinct advantage because of their technology and things. I don't know, like I feel like it never really fit. Like their explanation for like inventing the submarine using Sokka's very wonderful drawings,
Yeah.
like stuff like that is inventive and fun, I guess. I don't know, like again, like I really don't think steampunk fantasy is that appealing for whatever reason.
Well, I was gonna say, and you guys know my reaction to this because I posted it in our group chat the second I finished watching the first episode of Korra, because I basically lived under a rock in terms of this series all my life, and I know Korra came. I thought Korra came out in 2015. Dude, I didn't realize like it came out in like 2010 or something like that. I didn't realize that. But basically, like I thought the setting of Korra was still in that high fantasy or like ancient and very mystical, like Last Airbender was. Yeah. I had no idea that like Republic City was a thing, and like it was set in like this more technologically advanced future. And I knew Korra was set after Avatar, but I didn't realize that this world would develop that fast, and it still really bothers me. Like, the thing is, like, we don't really get to see that evolution between the two shows that much. The comics don't really delve into it, at least the point I'm at, they don't delve into it very much. And I just feel like things move too fast. Like, Republic City is this massive space on the map, and there's electricity, there's skyscrapers, there's vehicles, there's like all this stuff. I think Toph's metal bending really is the thing that is the catalyst that pushed everything to where it's at now. And I know it's really contained in Republic City, but stuff that will take place after Korra, I feel like the world eventually is all going to be like Republic City, and then it kind of misses that charm that the series was formed with. Like, I just feel like it might lose a bit of its identity because of the fact that it's almost in like a modern setting. That's the one, like the major thing that bothered me.
Yeah, but remember, like, we even got like little bits and tidbits of that. Like, for instance, like Ozai and his giant blimp and stuff as he was like literally burning the world down. Then you had that one episode where Katara is the lady of the lake there. That one episode, like, it's their mission in that episode to like destroy a factory that's polluting things. Like, you can start to see the tidbits of future stuff kind of coming in, but it was so like few and far between where like we didn't really notice it. But when it's like blatantly in your face like all the time with Republic City, I guess that's why it could be a little jarring. But that stuff always was there. And like really going back and watching the series with Matteo during his watch through, where I kind of realized that, because like sitting through Airbender the first time, I'm like, wow, this is so whimsical and like lots of fantasy aspects and stuff. But then I realized, it's like, hey, what I remember versus what I'm seeing and what actually happened are two different things.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I agree with Matteo. I have watched Korra a couple times now, and the first time I watched it, I really did not like the feel of Republic City. I didn't like how industrialized it was, because there was a sort of magic to the Avatar world, but it is realistic considering that it's about 60 years in the future. And when you see the type of technology they had in Avatar versus the type of technology they have in Republic City, and you compare it to real world, that is quite like how fast industrialization happened. Like, they were having these type of inventions. They had the railway system, they had, military tanks, they had submarines, and 60 years later they have cars, they have electricity, and I think that that's pretty realistic, although I wouldn't like to see it go too much further. I hope that the future Avatar stories are in the past, and not after Korra's cycle.
I don't want to see the next Avatar wearing blue jeans and listening to punk rock.
The other thing that, and this is definitely a network decision, and like it was definitely like a decision of the times, where like in the early mid 2000s you couldn't show like characters dying, like explicitly showing characters dying on screen. But yeah, it's rough, like seeing some characters go out the way they do in the show, or like, are they dead? Like, you actually have to like think twice, like, did they actually die, or is this like, are they just not allowed to show it?
Oh, like what happened to Jet, right?
Yeah,
And they even reference that as well in the show.
Yeah.
Remember the episode? They're all just like, this is an Airbender where like Team Avatar is watching the play about themselves, and everything is just a very terrible soap opera spoof. And it gets to the part where I think Jet's death happens in Ba Sing Se, and even like Aang is all like, "Oh yeah, did Jet actually die?" And Sokka's like, "Nobody knows." They referenced that. I just thought it was funny.
They did confirm later in an interview that yes, Jet is dead, and so is Zhao. Well, Zhao is alive in the spirit world, but his physical body is dead as hell. But yeah, they had to actually like confirm. Yeah, y'all, sorry about that. But no, in Korra, when they took Korra off of Nickelodeon, they were like, okay, now we can do whatever we want within its limits. And you can definitely see that in season 3 when they literally blow up Combustion Lady's head inside of a metal box. Like, oh my God. And yeah.
But I think honestly, if Last Airbender was created today and aired on TV now, I think would be fine. I don't think there would be those issues. Those same issues would be around now. Avatar: Last Airbender really paved the way for a lot of shows, and having like more mature storytelling in a show that is targeted towards 8 to 12-year-olds.
Right.
Because that was definitely their demographic, like that, and there's a lot more there just for that demographic. That like we said, like these shows are phenomenal. They are timeless, I honestly, I did not know that the third and fourth season of Korra were not on like aired on TV.
Yeah, so that's actually why Korra feels so segmented when you watch it. The first season like ends and then there's a totally different storyline for the next and then the next and the next because Korra was never renewed after it was finished. It only got renewed season by season. So if Korra was renewed for like 3 seasons at a time, it probably would have been one long cohesive story. But they thought that at every season ending was going to be the last episode. And I believe season 1 was the only episode that got aired on Nickelodeon. And then they said, hey, we're not going to show your show anymore. You can make it, but it's going to be on nick.com and they can watch it there through like some sort of subscription. I don't know. But the first season of Legend of Korra is the only one that I remember actually being able to watch on TV.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I thought each season was eventually aired on TV. I didn't even know that. Wow. Okay.
Eventually, I know that that's why they, because they kind of got dropped because the first season of Korra didn't do super well compared to Avatar, because of the popular opinion. I personally am not a huge fan of the first season of Legend of Korra. I think the 3 seasons are much better, but yeah, I don't know if they did get eventually aired on television, but I do know that they weren't originally aired on television.
I don't know. Like I feel like it would have done okay if it came out a little later. I still feel like things were a little too new, or if they went back in time, or they let us separate from the original Team Avatar and Aang. It's hard to talk about this series without like comparing like the only like animated content that we currently have.
Right.
But yeah, and like I know we're going to be going back and visiting the original Team Avatar with the new Netflix series, but with the original creators kind of like separating and distancing themselves from that, what does that mean for the show, right? Like I don't know if I want to get invested if the original creators kind of like aren't on board, but I want to see more Avatar content. And I know like they have the Avatar Studios thing coming up, but
I hate the live action trend. I don't mind the more content. I'm excited for more content. I really dislike that everything needs to get some live action reboot. I think it takes away from the magic of the world. I think that Avatar is perfect. Don't mess with it. It doesn't need to be rewritten. People just want to make more money off of it. And if the original creators stepped back, they stepped back from the Avatar movie, that's the only time I'm going to bring this up because I know
it doesn't exist. I refuse to acknowledge it.
Does not acknowledge the movie, but we've seen it happen where they tried to make a live action Avatar. They epically failed. Leave Avatar alone. It's perfect how it is. Continue to make original content. Do not build off a masterpiece and think that you can make something that's like good standing next to it. That's my opinion.
I've never seen the live action movie.
Good.
I'm curious to see it. I actually might do it because like I'm the type of guy where it's like there's no way it's as bad as what people say, how people say it is.
That's what I thought too. I couldn't finish it, and I watched it when I was like 10 when it first came out. So as a part of the age demographic, I was like, oh my god, I'm actually like gonna start crying because this is so sad.
But in a way though, because they're taking their time and it's not a movie, it's gonna be a series, they'll have a better chance to develop characters and stories in that world. And we already know they're gonna take their liberties with it, especially now since the creators aren't attached to it anymore. But if it's good, it can be its own thing. Well, we have the other thing here that we actually care about. I'm gonna give the series a chance, because like for the most part, Netflix is pretty good with a lot of at least the shows that I watch. I think they're fantastic, like the Netflix stuff. But
yeah, they've done a really good job with The Witcher in the live action.
Anime shows though, or their anime movies, live action have been really bad.
This is the thing though, like I know like obviously the main issue that we're all afraid of is that like they're gonna make Katara and Zuko a couple.
Doesn't it take place in modern world and they're like school kids and Katara is like 16 and Aang is like 13? I think it takes place in modern universe. I don't know if they're like school kids, but I think it takes place because when I read the character synopsis, it sounds like it takes place in like 2020.
Oh gosh, I hope not.
Well, then disregard everything I said. This is going to be a complete disaster of a show.
We
But-
can separate it, I see, but
Yeah, I really hope that they stick true to the original stuff because like I'm a big sucker for like that kind of like mythology and stuff for my shows. But again, like it's what it is. Like we know that they're going to be working on some new things because like the original creators didn't just like nope out of the Netflix and be like, that's your Avatar content for the next 10 years. Peace out. They're not doing that. They went out and made their own studio and they already announced what they're going to be doing. Right? Like so we have Avatar Studios coming up. We have some announcements from them. They're going to be doing some sort of animated movie and there's going to be a new series. So
yeah.
like we already know that the comics and stuff are a thing. Like I know that they're doing a run of Avatar Kyoshi stuff right now, right? And apparently it's really like dark considering like we've seen like Happy Go Lucky Aang and we've seen kind of like Korra grow up also, right? But like the Kyoshi stuff, it's set back in that like past kind of time frame, but it's a lot darker than we thought.
Right.
Like there's a lot more like mature themes in
Yeah.
that, and like I haven't read into it, or I haven't seen like Comic Storian or anything like that. If they've gone out and done anything on that, like if that exists online. But I know Matteo has been kind of like paying attention to like the Aang stuff, and eventually, like I think he was going to head over and take a look at like the Korra comics and everything as well.
Yeah,
they
I'm going to work my way through basically the order of which it was released.
Yeah. And yeah, so like we know that there's going to be some like an animated movie, as I said before, and a new like TV series. And like just I think it would be really cool. Like don't jump into a new Avatar right away. It'd be nice to maybe get like a movie version of some of the comics, like what happened to Zuko's mom or some of that other stuff. Or maybe get the Kyoshi series put in as a movie. That would be pretty cool because like even watching the show, you could see the experiences of the past avatars, and they were like kind of mysterious, but you kind of knew like bits and pieces of their past, and it'd be really nice to see the actual like, okay, here we go. This is going to be Kyoshi's story proper. Or if they're going to introduce a new avatar, don't let it be the avatar after Korra. Why don't we go to an avatar from the past, like random surfing waterbender, and like see what happened to like his wife when she got her face stolen,
Right.
and like tell that whole story. Or
Right. They have a lot of potential because they built a lot of lore.
yeah.
Mm.
Or like what happened to like the avatar after Juan? How did they figure out that they were a reincarnation of some like another person? When did they know that they were reincarnating? At what point? That'd be really cool to explore.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you guys think?
I really think that because of how Korra, like basically all the series, if any stories they tell after Korra won't have the ability to use the past avatars, like we won't see them anymore. Like the connection is severed. Like she won't be able to communicate with it. We don't even know if avatars past Korra would be able to communicate with Korra and like anyone that was after her. So like that is like I want stuff like that to be answered, and I don't know if necessarily if a TV show or a movie is the best way to tell that type of story. Like at least for after Korra, comic books would be fine because like you don't really need to read them, but that's just supplementary material that can answer unanswered questions. But for the sake of storytelling with fan service and stuff that I want to see personally, is I care more about the stuff that came up before Korra. I want to see Aang. I want to see previous avatars because those are additional characters that will have significance and they can help the hero along their journey.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I like that idea of doing the Avatar right after Avatar 1, Gino. I think that's a really good idea. But I have a gut, and my gut feeling is whatever, because the movie's going to be coming out before the show. I think the movie's going to spin off into the show. If you can generate hype around the movie, that can carry over to the show directly, especially if the characters in the movie are well received. But then, if that doesn't happen, then I don't know if I would want them to turn the comics into a movie. Maybe do something after, like, between Avatar and Korra, still Team Avatar, because I want to know what happened to Sokka. I want to know, like, did Sokka have a family? Like, how did he die? Stuff like that.
Right.
Like, how did I want to see Aang? Like, I just want to see the immediate impact of Aang's death on the world, how that affects his children, how that affects Katara. Like, I want to see that. So, like, something in that period of like 40 years, whatever it is, 30, 40 years.
Oh, so just after Aang dies and just as Korra, because that's how it works, right? Like as soon as the Avatar dies, the next one like is pretty much born, right?
Yeah.
So like the moment that Aang died was the moment that Korra was born.
Yes.
So it would be nice to see like that first like 5 years or so, kind of like before the White Lotus finds Korra firebending in her igloo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I
Right.
honestly don't want to see Korra in the movie. Like, I don't want it to focus on her because we already know what, like, we know that what happens with her. I want to know what more happens with, like, Suki is like never mentioned in Korra, I don't think.
No, she's not. Neither is Sokka. Really.
Yeah, like, so, like, and you know, like, I want to see what happened to Zuko's relationship. Like, we don't know who Zuko's daughter's, like, Izami, I think, is his daughter. We don't know who her mother was. We know Toph became, like, was a teacher at like, she taught metal bending and then became the police chief or whatever. Like, I want to know, like, more about these characters in the years between the shows. So,
Right. I think there's more comics coming out. There's been a rumored comic to come out about Suki for a long time. And some people have been saying, I don't know if anything was leaked or whatever, but like Suki died really young. But or if that's just a theory. Also, this is not related. I wanted to retract a previous statement. So the whole the new Avatar series is set in modern day. I think is just a rumor. We don't know too much about it yet. I had to look it up, but the cast list was just released, and it sounds more like normal Avatar than the previous synopsis that was released. But anyway, I would love
good
to know.
fact checking, Sarah.
Yeah, I would love to know what happened to Sokka. I was kind of hurt that they kind of just like threw away Sokka and Korra. I was like, we know what
Yeah.
happened to everybody else. Can we at least hear from Qatar? Like, he doesn't have to be in it. I get that people die, but like, can we hear like, you know, Sokka's kid, Sokka, you know, like. And there's so many people who think that what's her name, Suyen? Who's the other Lynn's sister? What's her name, Sue?
Yeah.
yeah.
That Sue is Sokka's daughter. I don't agree with that theory because I don't think Sokka would be a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, he
But
wouldn't be.
yeah, Sokka would be a great father, and I don't think that Sokka and Toph
Yeah.
would work as a couple.
Okay. This is
Yeah.
actually I do want to put in chime in a little bit on like while we're like talking about like okay, I actually think that something after Korra would be good, and Juliana was actually talking to me about this one time, and I thought it was a brilliant idea, and it kind of ties in with the end of Korra, right? So the next avatar in the cycle would have to be an Earthbender, and at the end of Korra, we were dealing with the Earth Empire, right?
Right.
What if, okay, we have another avatar that dies really young for some whatever reason, right? And what if the next avatar is born into Earth Empire sympathizers?
Ooh.
And the entire thing for the avatar is okay, we don't like we see not a fully realized avatar, right? Because like okay, Earth Empire Kavira was shut down, kind of like she was trying to take over the world, but she had good intentions. The world needs to be united versus a threat. Like look what happened with like Unalaq and all of that stuff. We need to have one unified thing. And Republic City, we're going to expand this and like try to make the Earth Empire. They find out that the avatar is going to be an earthbender, and it's part of, and the avatar is born into this sympathizer family and raise the avatar to take over the world.
That's very interesting because the avatars were
Because like we did get those kind of like dark avatar vibes from the Unalaq arc, right? And I still think that would have been really cool to have like a perfect foil to the avatar with Rava, right? With Vatu's spirit in an evil avatar, right? Or like an incarnation of darkness. That would be really, really cool. So it's up to like a band of characters to take down the avatar because the avatar had been corrupted in some form, right? Juliana was talking about that and like how like the entire thing it'd be kind of like Red Sun Superman in a sense where like Superman in the Red Sun comic was like his pod lands in Soviet Russia instead of Kansas, and what happens to the world if Superman was a dictator. Like that was like one of those stories. So like the Avatar could be wearing this Earth Empire uniform, become the supreme leader, and over the course of their whole journey, right? If they are disconnected from the previous avatars and they only have Korra to base things on, this avatar would really hate Korra and be like, I'm not listening to you because you destroyed everything that was supposed to be good because you took down Kavira, and not listen to it. And then this hypothetical avatar, and because earthbenders are notoriously stubborn, it would totally fit for this earthbender avatar to like just not listen to anyone other than themselves and what they truly believe in. And yeah, Jules was talking to me about it, and he definitely could explain it a lot better than me. But like over the course of the seasons, it would be like this avatar realizing what they did was wrong and trying to undo the damage that they've done, and the fear that the avatar has now put into the people. And Team Avatar could be like a group of people trying to take down the Avatar, kind of like the Red Lotus. And it'd be like, hey, the Red Lotus has a point.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that would be an interesting direction. I don't think that they would go into like a villain Avatar story, but like Aang's story was pretty much like physical physical development. He was learning the elements. Korra's was more spiritual. She was coming into herself and learning. And this could be like a moral growth story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
Hypothetically, how would that avatar learn the other types of bending?
That could be another thing. Maybe this avatar only knows earth bending and is really, really strong with it. They could also be like child prodigy, kind of like Korra was. But then again, you would have also, my only thing with that kind of thinking is you would have you'd have another really stubborn avatar that isn't able to connect to the spirit world and all that stuff.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like
Yet
Korra.
you have a spirit like
Yeah.
Boomju flying around next to you, right? Like, because
Heck yeah,
of what
Boomju.
happened at the end of Korra.
Right.
Boomju is one of the greatest characters, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Boomy, both boomies.
Yeah.
Boom. They're both pretty.
Well, yeah, like that was Giuliano's idea, and I really kind of like that. Give me anything more Avatar, because like I'm itching right now for another series of something animated or otherwise. But
And I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think aside from the live action show, the movie and the series, the animated series, I think are going to be on Paramount Plus, the subscription service. I think
that
that
they were owned
could
by
lend.
Nickelodeon.
I know. Yeah.
No, they are. It's all the same corporate umbrella. Viacom owns Paramount, which own in Nickelodeon. So like it's all that. Streaming services don't have the same requirements and ratings and stuff like that to worry about that network television has. So we could see a more another mature type story, or at least we won't see the baby deaths that we saw in Last Airbender. So
Where Aang doesn't kill people, but like throws an avalanche on everyone.
Right. I don't want like a rated R Avatar story. I think that would take away from a lot of like the magic. But I would like an Avatar story where, people are, and I think Korra got into that a little bit when, Zahir airbended the breath out of the Earth Queen's lungs and killed her.
Yeah.
They really take bending, because that was like one of the things I thought as a kid. Like, if you're an earthbender, you could just swallow somebody into the ground and crush them, they're dead. Bye. Like, what else are they gonna do? And airbenders, you can suffocate somebody. I like to see maybe like it go further into the capabilities of bending, but I don't want to see like weird Avatar like sex storylines and like drugs in the Avatar world. Like, I don't want it to go too rated R.
Yeah, they definitely won't go that route. Like
They won't. But if they keep going like into the future, right? Like, or like at least into like what we perceive as like the present, right? Because if you think about it, if Korra lives like a proper full life, unlike Aang, like she's probably going to be going to like 80, 90. Kyoshi apparently lived to 200.
Yeah, they live really long in the Avatar world.
The next Avatar, they could have like airbending flying cars, right? Like something crazy like that, where like Korra's like she's like super ancient, and then like this world is just so beyond what we might even like. It could be like, I don't know, I'm thinking maybe like Jetsons or something, right? Like where like that kind of like happy-go-lucky future, kind of like, because we get a lot of like really depressing future if you think about it recently with like all this post-apocalypse stuff, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see like, okay, here's a happy future. What point does the Avatar serve at that point, right? Like all their problems have been solved.
You know how they would make it a happy future? Is if they write their way out of how they ended season 2 and we get to see future stories and have previous avatars in those stories. Maybe they just make it as if Korra was the only avatar that couldn't connect with their past lives, and like that would make it like that's the cherry on top. If they go in the future at all in Avatar, that's like the only thing I care about, honestly. Like I just want that. I want to know more about previous avatars. I want to see Aang again. Like that is it. That would make me happy.
I agree. I think that Korra could have been taken into a totally different direction. I love Korra, don't get me wrong, and I really, really like the villains in Korra and the story that Korra tells. I think that if Korra got renewed for 4 seasons when it was first out and it wasn't like, okay, season 1, you're done, it would have been really interesting if Amon took away Korra's bending and instead of Aang showing up and fixing it all and it being honky-dory, you know, at the end, because she was already kind of OP in season 1. She knew all of the elements. It would have been very interesting if she had to relearn all of the elements instead. And it would be interesting if the avatars in the future could maybe do something to relearn their past selves.
I think that would have been really cool.
Yeah, like if she had
like
to
a
go
self-discovery thing. Yeah, like they have to go back and like
it served the purpose for Korra's arc to do that, and I understand that completely. But it also prevents future avatars that won't have the same issues that she had. So like it's an impediment for future storytelling, and I honestly believe that. Like I see the benefit for her and only her. Because what if the next avatar isn't as good as isn't like the prodigy that Korra is? It's like and like is like Aang and needs to take time to learn the elements and it has them like and is more in touch with their spiritual side, but then there is no spiritual side to connect with really like to the same extent. Like yes, there's the spirit world, but like they can't meditate and talk to themselves and like get advice and things like that. And I think that is a huge part of what the Avatar storytelling or was in the first series in the comics as well. So it like that is the only
yeah.
we're begging on Korra, but like I just can't help it. It's a great show. I just can't help it though. Like it's just that's the one thing. It just grinds my gears and just like I don't think repeat viewings of the show will make me feel less passionate about that.
Yeah, I love Korra for what it is. I really do love it. Like it's not Avatar in my heart, which is like okay, but if I separate it from my biases towards Airbender, Korra is such a good show. It's amazing.
Oh, it is.
I think there's valid critiques of it, and I think that it's a good point to bring it up. I don't think that you're like bashing Korra by saying, you know, I wish it would have gone a different direction, or I think it kind of twisted the story up a little bit. I think that it's a valid analysis of it because I think that most people who watched Korra after watching Airbender really felt the same, and it kind of felt like a punch in the gut, you know, when they disconnected the Avatar line. Aang had such a short life. He died when he was like 60. I mean, he was 170 something, but like he didn't get to live his life. And then he doesn't even get to, you know, reincarnate and help the avatars forever. He gets killed off pretty much like indefinite, like for good in Korra because of that. And it's kind of like, it's hurtful as a viewer to see it go in that direction. I see why it did. And I think that because of that, Korra, and like you said, it benefited Korra, but probably only Korra. She had to work through a lot of PTSD, and you know, it really also highlighted people who struggle with mental illness and stuff like that. And I think it was a good arc following. But I wish it didn't happen personally.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of want to get into a little bit of theory crafting here because I really like what you brought up there for a sec. Okay, so Korra has 4 seasons right from the get-go. Who's the ultimate villain? What's the story progression? I would like to say, like, okay, I really like that idea that you had with, like, okay, Amon takes away her bending. She has to relearn the elements, and the only thing she has is air, which she just learned. Do you think it goes into Vatu Unalaq right away, or does it go into Zahir? or does it go into Earth? But and I think it would go into Earth Empire a
Yeah.
little bit earlier, because then you're building up. Kavira has that stuff. Or actually, I think it could go into Zahir, and they can do some of the spirit world stuff with Zahir, because
I think
that's
Zahir
one thing.
would be a great ending villain. Like Zahir, I think Zahir
Yeah.
was more powerful as a character than Kuvira was, and I like her a lot. I think that she's really interesting. I think it would have been, almost more interesting if they ended with Zahir, or if he was longer in the series. And I see why he had to be there, of course, because Korra had to, again with the PTSD after they put metal in her body, she had needed that growth and she needed that self-confidence put back in her. So I see why Zahir was in the middle of the series, as opposed to the end. But if Korra did unlearn her bending, I think that Zahir would have been a really interesting end game villain.
And I feel like even with I really like the Vatu Unalak stuff. I would have loved it if instead of just spirit bending, I guess, away Kaiju Unalak, Kaiju Vatu Unalak, I would have loved to see again with the Dark Avatar kind of a Dark Avatar cycle where this potential Dark Avatar only has one of the elements, but is the most powerful in that element.
Interesting, yeah.
And it would kind of okay, where Zahir is probably the most powerful airbender because he was able to take Guru Pati's teachings and be able to to fly, because he was able to completely disconnect himself from the world after his love died. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, I don't need any connections to anyone anymore, because the only thing that was keeping me anchored physically was my love. And that's why at the during Airbender, that's why Aang couldn't make that, he couldn't take that step that Zahir did, because he was anchored by Katara, right? And his friends. And out of again, having a Dark Avatar cycle, or even having someone to the same extreme as Zahir, I think they would have been a good season, Unalak, Vatu Unalak would have been a really good, I think maybe season 3. And then going into Zahir, because after, okay, here comes the Avatar, they completely screwed up our entire city, just like how they did with all the Red Lotus stuff happening, right? Okay, Korra made a decision to just, okay, we're gonna let all the spirits into the world. And everyone's all like, you've kind of just taken away our agency. We've lost our homes, we've lost this, and she's basically just tough. And then having the Red Lotus and stuff coming after her, because the Avatar inherently is a dangerous creature, right? And you want to end it. I think that would be a really good thing, and it would leading in again to what Giuliano thought was for the Earth Empire theory. I think that would be really cool. You could take the Red Lotus and see how they could infiltrate the Earth Empire and kind of try to turn any sympathizers. You could see how they could infiltrate that and kind of weasel and worm their way around there. Any other theories, Matteo? As a relatively new fan, what would you like to see theory crafting and anything like that?
I haven't really thought too much about that, because I'm still going through the comics. But like I said, I just want to see more of the original Team Avatar, and I want to see more previous avatars, whether they're included in future stories through some sort of Korra retcon, or in their actual lives, when they were alive and were the Avatar. So I'm in for the ride. I'm in for the long haul now. I'm dedicated now. I am a lifelong fan. And so I am so thankful that you guys pushed me to watch this show, because it's now my new favorite thing. And it's no matter what movie or series comes out, I'm there day one.
Yes, it's so special. Such a good series.
And I
so
can't wait
jealous.
I can't wait for the series to come out, and we watch the episode that week, and then we talk about it. That's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great experience.
Well, I guess now's a good time to actually segue into this. So you guys heard about the Avatar board game? It was kickstarted and stuff.
Yeah,
so
D&D.
the D&D thing, and I think it would be a great idea to play that. So I went and backed it. It should be in around sometime in February. So yeah, we're gonna be playing that. Maybe we'll kind of like do a little bit of a recap every now and then about like what our Avatar like characters and stuff are doing inside of this board game. I think it would be really fun. So like I totally knew that like Juliana would want to play it, Sarah, you and Adriano would want to play it. Matteo definitely, now that he is an Avatar fan, would definitely want to play it. And yeah, I thought I'd like, okay, yeah, let's do this board game. It'd be fun. Yeah, so just I thought I'd share that.
I'm so excited. I have like 12 OCs from 7th grade that I can put. Y'all see the light of day again.
Yeah. Just like whip out all of the OCs. Honestly, it's like the reason why I like went back when I used to play World of Warcraft, I actually made a shaman character in that game because they were like the whole like lore behind the shaman as a class is like, okay, you have this deep connection to spirits and the elements, and I'm like, okay, I can make my character the avatar.
That's
Just
so
like
cool.
huck lightning and use water to heal and things like that. So like that's part of the reason why I play shaman. I
Awesome.
totally forgot Adriano was here too.
Me
So I guess
too.
that's Adriano. That's why I play shaman.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know like you were that into Avatar. You never really talked about.
Well, when I was little, like when Matteo and I were little, I always wanted to watch Avatar, but it was like I think Avatar was on. It was on at the same time that Matteo wanted to watch, I think like Teen Titans or something. And I'm like, I want to watch Avatar, and he's like, no, we're watching this instead.
Both are good. Both are good.
I don't know. I don't know what the exact show it overlapped with, but it overlapped with one of my favorite shows. So like that's why I never could give Avatar the chance. But now clearly I made the wrong decision. So
I watched the pilot episode when it first released. Like I said, I lost my first tooth while I was watching it, but I don't think I was old enough to fully grasp Avatar when it first came out. And I watched it all the way through for the first time when I was 10 years old and just completely fell in love with it and haven't stopped since.
like the show is definitely like it's crazy to think how like insanely more popular the show is now than it ever was when either Korra or Last Airbender were on TV like
Right.
in that time. And I think it's like it completely has to do with the fact that it was put on streaming services and like people have been able like that show really works well be like when you're able to binge it because like it's not like other Nickelodeon shows that don't follow a coherent plot. Like it's just like every episode's its own thing. But
Yeah,
Avatar has a definitive beginning, and you can see the stories unfold, and then it ends, and like and there isn't that filler. Like it's so great that Last Airbender is only 3 seasons, and yeah, there's like one filler episode in like there's the Great Divide, but like that's it. But like even that is not like it's not awful, but like
Oddly enough, the episode The Great Divide is one of the episodes that I clearly remember watching as a kid and being like, I really like the idea of this show.
that may be the episode that I said no, we're not watching this show. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but before you knew it was bad.
but yeah, like the fact that it was such like it's crazy to think that a show that came out in like 2004, whenever it was, like is like that was binge TV before like binging
Binge
TV was
TV.
a thing, right?
Absolutely.
So they were way ahead of their time. Like it's
Absolutely.
in multiple ways. But I actually thought of a little segment we could do to close if no one else has anything to share. Because like we talked a lot about like what we hope for the future of the series, but like we never really talked about who our favorite characters are. And we talked about like what type of bender we'd be. Like I think that's a huge part, obviously, is like the characters. Like we talked about the settings and things like that. But like just quickly, like Iroh aside, because like I think all of us think Iroh's phenomenal.
That was the best.
But,
Yeah, it's just
Iroh's great.
tier of his own.
who are like your two favorite characters from each show? Like I think it'd be a cool way to close off the episode.
It's
So-
really difficult.
I know, it's so difficult. I could start. So Iroh's my favorite, obviously. We don't need to include him. My two favorite characters from Avatar since I was a child, since I started watching as an adult, Sokka kind of weasels his way in there, but Toph and Zuko. I'm a Zuko cosplayer. If y'all don't know, follow me at DekuToad on TikTok. Anyway, but I always loved Zuko's story arc, and it just like it touches so many people, I think, his relationship with Iroh and just how special that is, especially in children's media, how they represent like healthy relationships and toxic relationships and how to identify the difference, especially for a child, because Zuko's an older character, but he's a child, and it's just he's such a good character. And Toph, because I see myself in her, she's a bad bitch. I love her. Anyway, I know as a kid I was like a jerk. And I was like, oh my God, that's me on TV.
Toph is great.
I love her so
Yeah.
much. I also refuse to wear shoes. But anyway.
Do we want to do all of our Airbender ones first, then go around and do our Korra favorite ones afterwards, or do you want like all of them at the same time?
We could do all the Airbender ones first.
The thing is, like, I find it really difficult to pick my favorite Airbender characters because, like, it's mostly Team Avatar. Like characters. Like, again, like it's really difficult once you take like Iroh out of it. OG Boomy is like kind of crazy and funny. But again, like I think when it comes down to it, right? I like because I only watched it as like really as an adult, right? So I gotta say Sokka's up there because I can definitely like identify with like the goofy genius that is Sokka. Because I feel like I am very much the Sokka of our group. I'm a big Sokka fan, big Iroh fan for sure. But like again, like the team itself, I find that there's not a lot of characters outside of the main cast that I can really say like, yep, that one in particular, that's really good. I'm gonna say Appa because Appa is awesome, and every time I see Appa, I'm instantly happy.
Serotonin producer.
Adriano, what about you?
I think my favorite character is Sokka, because for someone who doesn't bend, he just he kicks ass. Like is it me or did he learn something from every nation?
He did. He mastered all the non-bending styles from every single nation. He's got spans, swords.
That's just epic.
Yeah.
And it's his just quirky genius too, right? Like
Yeah.
he's underestimated, but like he's freaking smart. Like who knows how many times like things could have ended in catastrophe if he wasn't there, or or like how the battle could have turned if he just wasn't that smart. Yeah, I really especially loved the end part when he mastered the sword. That was, I was like, yes. Yeah.
See, I want them to write a story of him finding that sword again. I'm kind of in the same boat as Gino for Avatar, where like the main cast is so strong, it doesn't really have like the supporting characters. You don't really spend enough time with them. Like they're not like I think the most like reoccurring characters aside from like Jet's crew is like Cabbage Guy, and he's like a joke. Like he's not in it very much, right?
Oh my cabbages!
Like Suki's reoccurring in, I guess, but like she's kind of like a regular in the final season. But like I don't know.
Yeah,
but for me,
Zilla and Mai and
Ty Lee. But like
another theory about Ty Lee being from the Air Nation. Anyway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have that appreciation for Sokka if I was a kid, but like for the reasons everyone said, Sokka and Zuko, absolutely. Like Zuko, I think is the best written character on that show.
Yes.
Like his journey from beginning to end is so evident. His change is so evident. Like that is in my opinion, that's like the emotional core of the show.
Yes.
Seeing him change, and that honestly was like one of the most fulfilling character arcs I've seen in a television show period. Like the payoff is fantastic, and like they knew day one that Zuko was going to be Aang's teacher, and now we got to see that happen in the exact way that the creators wanted to, which was really special. And then just in general, because Gino mentioned Appa, the animal companions in Avatar are way better than the animal companions in Korra. As much as I like Pabu, but Appa and Momo are like leagues ahead of Pabu and Naga. But
Naga doesn't do anything though.
I know, like that's the thing. Like they knew that like we can't top Appa, so let's just not have Naga travel with Korra for a lot of the show. So
the car is their Appa.
But also knowing that Momo is supposed to be a reincarnation of Monkey Atso makes his character so much more significant too. So yeah, the Avatar animal companions, so good, top tier, beautiful, love them.
Yep. So for Korra, though, would anyone like to start with their favorite Korra characters?
Yeah, I can go in the same order that we went before. My favorite Korra characters are Bolin and Jinora. I don't really have too much of a reason why. I feel like the character development in Korra wasn't as like hard hitting as it was in Avatar. So like I like Bolin because he's fun and he's cute and he's cool. I like Jinora. I think Jinora had the best character arc in Korra aside from Korra herself. And I do think I'm not a huge fan of Korra as a character, but I do love where Korra goes through her hero's journey. And I really love, how they show her struggling with mental illness and how they show her confidence getting hit, how they show her, coming back up. But aside from her, I think Jinora was also like a beautiful character, such good representation for young girls too. Like she's awesome. I just like Bolin because who doesn't like Bolin? He's cool.
See, this one's really tough for me because while like the core of Team Avatar for Korra, like okay, Korra, Mako, Asami, and Bolin, I really didn't like Korra for like not for anything. It's just that like because the side characters in that show were just done way better. Like Lin Beifong, amazing character. Boomy, amazing character. You have Tenzin doing an amazing job there as well. Like I love to hate the new Earth King. Like I just did not like that character because he was just so
Yeah.
Very.
stupid. Varric was great. Julie was great also. And it's just like the side characters really stole the show. Boomju, amazing.
Yeah, Boomju.
Just for
Boomju is-
existing. I think that Korra is intentionally unlikable in the first two seasons. I think that that's a part of her journey is being a little bit unlikable and then learning as she goes,
Yeah.
And I agree, I don't like her, but I think that you're not supposed to really like her that much.
Yeah. And that's the thing though, like I found like I started off not liking Korra and then I'm like, okay, I get why you did that.
Yeah.
And like I appreciate the character a lot more now because of her interactions with like the wider world.
Right.
And if I had to narrow it down to like my absolute favorite, I really think Lin Beifong did a like that character grew a lot as well. And it goes to show you that like the older generation of people and stuff, like adults can learn things too, right? It's not just like kids going on this like she learned to forgive her sister after like 30 years.
Amen.
And they were able to get to like old Toph is great.
Yeah. In general, like forever and always.
I really liked what they did with Zahir in that show, and I'm gonna say Zahir is one of my favorites as well, just because of just like how menacing he can be. And I also want to I want to send out some love for the Korra villains because they were really strong.
Yes, amen.
They weren't just like generic evil. I am Ozai and I am bad.
Unalaq was Ozai-ish, but that's all.
Yeah.
The rest of them were really good. Adri, before I forget about you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really like the Beifongs, especially Toph. And Varric, is that the airship guy? The guy that's with Julie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah. He's my favorite. Yeah.
Do the thing.
That's how you should have proposed.
It's just, if I remember correctly, he just like had everybody around his finger. That guy.
Yep.
Am I wrong? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, he did. And in a really like manipulative, brilliant way because he comes off as like a fool.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great.
But he's not like a bad guy.
No. I think doesn't
He kind of was the bad guy at the beginning of the Unalaq arc. He kind of was.
and he's like, no fascism, sorry.
Yeah. That's why like you just can't put your finger on that character and then it's like, oh man, this guy's pretty badass. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
He can do whatever he wants.
For me, at least with Korra, Bolin I think is my he's my absolute favorite in the show. I really wish we spent more time with Aang's kids, but I do really like Boomy and Tenzin. Like Kaya didn't really get enough time for me to really like get to know her and like her.
She's hot though.
Tenzin and Boomy though are fantastic characters. Boomju though, no joke. Well, every time Boomju appeared on the screen, even though if it was like for a split second, I screamed Boomju. Boomju is like the best spirit in Avatar, and if you don't like Boomju, then there's something wrong with you. But in all seriousness, though,
rhymed.
like, yeah, it did not mean for that. But in all seriousness, though, I echo everything Gino said with like the way, like I personally didn't like a lot of the main cast. Like I didn't like Korra. I didn't like Asami very much, and Mako. I think Mako gets a bad rap, but still he's not like fantastic.
Boring.
But the side characters in Korra really like elevate the show. Sue Beifong also is fantastic. Like I think she's so badass. Like I just love how like both of Toph's kids are complete badasses. Even her like creepy cousins are like hilarious. For me, for sure. Like it's the parallels between Sokka and Bolin are just like it just you can't hate these characters. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
They are the comic relief of the show, and they have important stories, and they're not just like throwaway they're like they actually like serve a purpose, and when things do get serious, they're there. And like when Bolin became a lava bender, I was so happy. Like that was such a fantastic moment in the show. So like for me, it's like the tier. Like I sent you guys the tier. It's like Bolin, Boomy, Boomju, but then now room has been made for like Tenzin and Sue Beifong and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's my list.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that was the Avatar podcast. We've been wanting to do this one for a little while. I think honestly it would be really nice to get like maybe like if we missed anything, or like just like our like maybe we could like revisit Avatar again in the future. Like hopefully we could have Jules here to help out with it, because I know that he would really like to be part of this one. But yeah, it would be. I really want to revisit this, especially like okay, let's get into like some like sink our teeth into like some other meaty kind of like theory crafting and things. I didn't mention the one of the things that I found out before, where like Korra, like Nickelodeon released a book where like Korra's writing a diary almost to talk to the next Earthbender, because she's not sure if the new Avatar cycle, if she's going to be able to like speak with the new Earthbender, or she's going to use the tech, and like she's going to write a book, and like she's writing a book to the next Avatar, and like heck, there might even be like movers about Korra talking to whatever. And it'd be nice like if we could do it like another Avatar podcast, because I feel like we have not like we've just scratched the surface.
I know every time y'all bring up anything, I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have said something about like I want to talk about Aang and how I wasn't happy about how he's represented as a parent, and like also, you know, and
Yeah.
Kylie we brought up, and I think it's such an interesting theory that her parents were captives of the air nomads and stuff like that. Like really interesting theories that we didn't get to touch on. I would love to do that again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Then we got to do a part 2 eventually.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe when there's more Avatar news.
Well, not even when there's more Avatar news. We can always just talk about Avatar. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess with that, we've kind of like exhausted all of our part 1 or like first Avatar kind of chat with you guys here. Like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here. If you'd like to hear more about our thoughts on Avatar, or if hey, did we miss anything? What would you like to see? Who's your favorite characters in Avatar and things like that? Like just let us know. Honestly, like I think we just hit 270 subscribers, and like we've seen a little bit more growth than normal recently, like this past month. And welcome aboard if you're new. Let us know who you are. Just say hi in the comments or anything, right? If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast or Spotify or Google Podcasts or wherever you're listening to us from, glad that you made it this far in. And we're going to be getting a lot of new and exciting content. We're over on YouTube also, where we have some exclusive gaming content. We recently talked about the Nintendo Direct, and if you're interested in that type of that content, also give that one a listen to, and what we thought about Nintendo's most recent news. But yeah, this has been Gino at the Hub World, along with Sarah and Matteo and Adriano, and I guess we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.